With the NBA trade deadline fast approaching, fans are eagerly waiting to see if their teams will make any last minute moves to improve their squad. The Clippers might be one of those teams making moves in hopes of bolstering the team for a run at the Larry O'B. But as a Clipper fan, this got me thinking, what are some of the more notable moves the Clippers have made in the past before the All Star break? So I thought I'd talk about one of the most notable trades that the Clippers have made before the deadline and the impact that it had on the team. So let's get into it. On January 29th of 2018, the Clippers made a trade that ended an era and broke many fans' hearts. In the summer before the 17-18 season, the Clippers traded Chris Paul, who was a key piece of the Lob City era Clippers. Some notable players that they received from the trade to the Rockets were Patrick Beverley, Lou Will, Montrezl Harrell, and a 2018 first-round pick. After many seasons of injuries, egos clashing, and all around just bad luck, some will say the Clipper curse, it seemed that the franchise was ready to move on from the Lob City era. In that same summer, before trading Chris Paul, the Clippers had agreed to a 5-year, $173 million contract with Blake Griffin. The Clippers made the whole world believe that they were going to move forward with Blake Griffin as the face of the franchise. They were going to build around him and for the next 5 years win a championship with him. Well, it didn't really work out that way, and this is where a lot of people, myself included, feel that the franchise did Blake Griffin dirty. You see, just 7 months after signing Blake to that 5-year deal, they traded him before the deadline. Not only does Blake Griffin claim that he was told about the trade by a friend, he also mentions that the Clippers ghosted his agent when they tried to reach out to the organization. Sounds pretty messed up to me. So, what exactly was this trade? Well, the Clippers sent Blake, Bryce Johnson, and Willie Reed to Detroit. In return, they received Tobias Harris, Avery Bradley, Boban Marjanovic, and a 2018 protected first round pick. This pick would end up being the 12th overall pick of the draft, and the Clippers would use this to draft Miles Bridges, who they immediately traded to the Hornets for SGA. SGA. We know what trade SGA ended up being a part of, but that's a topic for another video. Additionally, they also received a 2019 second round pick. This trade was a huge surprise, and I don't think anyone saw it coming. Fans were devastated because Blake was a fan favorite. Everyone will remember that dunk at the dunk contest that was essentially just an ad for Kia. You know, the one where he jumps over a car. And on top of that, Blake was an integral part of turning the franchise around. Blake Griffin was the reason I became a Clipper and basketball fan, and to this day remains one of my favorite players to ever play for the franchise. So, like myself, fans were disappointed, and this was it, right? The Clippers were going to go back to their losing ways. Well, wrong. They did end the 17-18 season in the 10th seed with a 42-20 record. I know that's nothing to brag about, but hey, in nowadays, that's the play-in. So, not technically the playoffs, but they would have made the play-in. Anyways, the 2018-19 season was truly magical. You see, Clipper fans were under the impression that they were going to rebuild, and it was going to take years for the Clippers to become anywhere close to a contender, but this ended up being false. The front office did a great job in how they managed their assets, and by the end of the 18-19 seasons, they had done a great job to put themselves in a great position to sign an all-star caliber free agent that summer. But there was another notable trade that happened in the 18-19 seasons that helped them gain some assets that they would use later on in that summer. So let's talk a little bit about that. But before I do, please consider liking this video and subscribing if you're not already. This way you can stay up to date with future Clippers content and possible future giveaways. Now, back to the video. As I mentioned earlier, the Clippers had acquired Toby and Bobby in the Blake Griffin trade. They would use those same players in a blockbuster deal with the 76ers before the deadline in January of 2019. Along with Mike Scott, the Clippers traded Harris and Marjanovic to the 76ers for Wilson Chandler, Mike Muscala, Landry Shamet, a 2020 first round pick, a 2021 first round pick, and a 2023 second round pick. Mike Muscala would be traded only a few days later to the Lakers for Michael Beasley and Clippers current center Ivica Zubac. The Clippers now had picks, assets that they could use that coming summer to acquire a significant all-star player. But there's only one problem. Well, they're the Clippers. I mean, who would want to play for the Clippers? You know, the little brother to the team across the hall? I mean, they have no rings, and Taylor Swift has more banners in Staples Center than them. But the smooth brains were right. The Clippers had to prove that they had a good roster and that a superstar player would be able to sign and the team would immediately be in contention for a championship. Easier said than done, right? Well, that's exactly what they did. The Clippers ended that season with a 48-34 record, clinching the playoffs with the eighth seed. So you make the playoffs. That's a pretty good start at attracting free agents, but it's not enough. You need to do more. So, how about you just beat the first seed? That will surely help your case. Easy, right? Well, the first seed was none other than the Golden State Warriors. They were coming off four straight finals appearances. They had Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, and oh yeah, a player named Kevin Durant. The Clippers roster, on the other hand, consisted of players such as SGA, Pat Bev, Gallinari, Montrez, Lou Will, Landry Shamet, Ivica Zubac, just to name a few. It's safe to say that it was going to take a miracle to beat this Warriors team. It was a real life David and Goliath story, and I think most people thought that they would get swept. But that's not what happened. The Clippers made this a six-game series, beating the Warriors twice and making a historic 31-point comeback to steal game two of the series at Oracle Arena. Now, if you want to see me make a more in depth video about this series, just let me know in the comments below because I wouldn't be able to do it justice in this video. But the point of me telling you this is that even though the Clippers would go on to lose the series in game six, the Clippers showed heart, grit, and that they had a good roster. But all it was missing was an all-star caliber player or two to be a real contender. We all know that Kawhi would end up signing with the Clippers that summer right off a championship with the Raptors, and the Clippers would trade for Paul George to make this happen using some of those assets that they had acquired. If it wasn't for the trades that the Clippers made before the deadline, who knows that the Clippers would have put themselves in a position to get Kawhi and PG. And if you ask me, even though it was hard to see him go, the Clippers made a good choice by getting rid of Blake Griffin when they did, especially when you compare where he's at in his career now versus Kawhi. So, with the trade deadline approaching February 9th, it's hard to say whether the Clippers will go all in and make a big trade or if they'll stay put. Will they go for a player like Fred VanVleet or Kyle Lowry? Or maybe they possibly go for a backup center, maybe reunite with Isaiah Hartenstein. But we know the Clippers front office likes to keep things tight. They don't really usually like to leak info, so we're really just going to have to wait and see what happens before that February 9th deadline. So let me know what trades you'd like to see the team make before the deadline in the comments below. And that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.